folks, I got to be honest with you. I'm a talk radio listener, and I really can't listen to any of the big national hosts. I've said this before. And you know I don't talk trash about other hosts other than people that attack me behind the scenes. Empty suits, as some people call them. But I like Michael Savage, even though I've disagreed with some of his views and some of the things he said tongue-in-cheek about put the liberals in forced labor camps. Now I get the point. He was saying they want to put us in forced labor camps. But I just really like Michael Savage.
Alex, listen to me. I'll say it again. You better put them in a camp before they put you in one. As George Orwell wrote in the 1930s when he saw what the communists were going to do, if a man comes to put a bomb in your mother's house, put a bomb in his mother's house first. They, if they could, would put you and I in a concentration camp.
No, they call for our arrest all the time. I mean, they call for ending free speech. They love it.
Yeah, and look at this. The same bastards who try to push through the fairness doctrine to put me out of business, they're the same sons of bitches who are right now doing everything against the American way. Everything imaginable, whether it's seizing guns, seizing speech, seizing property, or pandering to the enemy. It's the same SOBs all over again. That's why they want us silenced.
You know, it really is true, and I'm sure you've seen the Bill Ayers witnesses from the trial, the FBI informants. It was later confirmed in the trial, the Weatherman. They were talking about putting 50 million conservatives in forced labor camps and licking their lips talking about beating us and killing us and shooting us. And then they had a White House petition countering my Piers Morgan petition a few months ago saying, let's have federal militias to go confiscate the guns. They dream of some red terror Lenin takeover. I mean, these people really are nuts.
Well, on Sunday, their good friend Louis Farrakhan gave a speech to 10,000 Nation of Islam followers where he appealed to gangbangers. You should get that soundbite where he said to them, you guys know how to use guns. All the guns you own are illegal, meaning they can't be seized. And he said, we want to teach you the arts of war because although one of our own, he said, is running the country, he's not helping us. We have to help ourselves. What was he saying? What was he saying?
I saw the clip. In fact, we played the clip.
And by the way, is the Nation of Islam the secret private militia that Obama hinted at before he was elected in 2008?
There's the headline. Farrakhan recruits Chicago gangs for protection. Well, look at the new FEMA Corps now launching people. I want to get into the martial law Civil War scenario with Michael Savage of the Savage Nation, one of the top talk show hosts in the country, best-selling author, new book, A Time for War. Michael Savage joins us right now. But first, let's go back to the bin Laden raid, very questionable. One helicopter crashes. They dump the body in the ocean along with the Keebler Elves, and then they pack 23 SEALs on a helicopter. I actually talked to a SEAL who has a buddy, one of the few survivors of SEAL Team 6, who says that they believe the helicopter was blown up. Michael Savage, where were you going with that?
I think they were sacrificed by the Obama administration, at least someone in the administration, gave a little gift back to the enemies of America and said, okay, we took out Osama bin Laden. You can have all 23 Navy SEALs.
No, you're right. It was 30 total. There was some Army guys, too.
Yeah, there were Rangers, and then there were some Afghan Special Forces. I think it was 23 SEALs.
Yeah, 23 SEAls, and I think 34 total. But go ahead.
I was screaming on my show, who made the decision to put them in a Chinook helicopter? Alex, you know that the Chinook is a Vietnam-era helicopter.
They're a death trap. The SEALs said they're never put on those.
Okay. In fact, the bin Laden raid was conducted with 3 advanced attack helicopters.
Stealth.
Why were these guys put into one old flying helicopter that was allegedly shot down with an RPG? I allege it was shot down with a blast, an EMP blast, in the novel A Time for War. How can I prove it? I can't. I'm only a fiction writer, after all, Alex. I have no inside information. But the question is, why was this never investigated? This was the single greatest loss of Navy SEALs in American history. And Obama runs around, I'm a commander-in-chief, I killed Osama bin Laden, and that schmuck, whatever his name was, who we forgot already, Ramney. How many times did I say on my show, Ramney, get up during the debate and say to him, okay, sir, you should take credit for killing Osama bin Laden, but do you also want to take credit for killing 23 Navy SEAls? Who in your administration did that? He could have sank his presidency during the campaign, couldn't he have, Alex?
You're absolutely right. Now, getting into the domestic operations, you have 2 billion rounds of ammos now, not 1.6 billion. You have drones for domestic operations. The new DHS-funded drone, $400,000 a piece. They're now putting out training videos showing the drone targeting what it looks like redneck cracker gun owners, to use one of their pejorative terms. You've got all these domestic checkpoints popping up. You've got the DHS training manuals that we got saying veterans and gun owners are the new Homeland Security threat. You've got Obama turning al-Qaeda loose in Libya and Syria. I mean, this is a full flipping of Homeland Security onto the American people. Are they trying to set up a civil war, Michael Savage?
How do I know what they really want to do? It almost doesn't matter whether they're trying to do it because they're really moving people against each other, aren't they? I have never seen a more divisive presidency in my life. I've never seen a president who basically antagonizes, should I lay it on the line, the older white males on a daily basis. He literally relishes making older white males angry. He prays they will do something crazy to justify a reaction by this psychotic fascist in the government to make it very clear. Okay, I don't know how else to put it. He's trying to provoke a war in this country. Whether it will happen is only a matter of whether someone goes off or not.
But what is their end game? I mean, Southern California...
It's obvious. Government control. Government control. We understand he's not a savior. We understand he's a demagogue. And he's not a right-wing demagogue. He's a national socialist demagogue. Everyone forgets that a certain Austrian who lived in Germany in the 1930s was a socialist. He hated capitalism. Do you know that, Alex?
He wanted centralized crony control and used selective socialism to transfer wealth, which you always see with the crony groups. What about Dorner? Yeah, the whole system was paralyzed for a week over one guy. How do they think they're going to start a civil war? By the way, he was a pro-gun guy who then... an anti-gun guy who was then out there using guns to reportedly shoot police.
That was a crazy case. And what the media did, the vermin in the media, and I'll say it until people hear me. Okay, I won't use a word that's so charged. The solenterates in the media, the worms in the media. The worms in the media, how's that? The worms in the media refused to report that mad, crazed cop, Dorner, who was killing people, his first two victims were a couple, a young woman who was of Chinese African-American descent and her fiance who was African-American. They wouldn't show their picture, Alex. We had to search for it and put it up on michaelsavage.com. Why did the media not show that Dorner's first victims were a black man and a Chinese black woman? Because then it wouldn't have fit their agenda.
They wanted to make it about racial division.
That's right. The rats, the solenterates, the worms in the media are trying to destroy us. They've destroyed this country. The very same worms that Obama's now saying, I don't need you anymore, are now crying that he doesn't need them anymore. But it's those worms, never forget, who destroyed this country.
So what is the end game then if he's even raising taxes on the payroll of the poorest people? I guess drive them into pure bankruptcy to get on welfare and make them totally dependent, wreck the country. But you're saying you don't think that's the total plan. Well, that's what they're doing.
No, that's not the plan. I think people think that mistakenly. Let's look at who doesn't pay taxes in America. Let's look at General Electric. I keep using that as a prime example for a couple of reasons. GE had reportedly an income of $5-some billion U.S. income. They paid zero taxes because of the rigged system. Who is the president of General Electric? Jeffrey Immelt. What else does General Electric own? NBC and MSNBC. Why else would they take a street slime, an uneducated dolt, a street slime, rabble-rousing, uneducated rat like Al Sharpton and give him $1 million a year or more to be on MSNBC? Because he keeps the mobs, the rent-a-mobs that he used for years, away from Jeffrey Immelt's General Electric headquarters. Isn't it cheaper to pay a rat like him $1 million a year?
That's right, and then Obama made the head of GE the head of the Economic Council, where they selectively can keep their coal power plants open. They get a waiver, but everybody else gets shut down. It's classic mafia tactics. So,
wait, Alex, listen, if GE paid their fair share and Google paid their fair share and all the other corporations who are tied into the Obama administration, and now let's go to another one, Alex, that no one talks about. Why are Indian gambling casinos tax-free? Why don't they pay their fair share?
No, if you're an insider and support the mafia, you're tax exempt, and then they say people making $200-something a year are rich, dirty rats who aren't paying enough federal taxes at 40%. You add all the rest of it. It's like that golfer pays 65% and bitched about it, and California said, how dare you, you should pay more.
if GE and the other tax evading corporations paid their fair share, if Indian gambling casinos paid their fair share, this budget would be balanced. But nobody will talk about the sacred cows, will they? Because they are the government. In other words, they're not separate from the government. They are the government. Who do you think put this guy in the White House?
So how do we stop them? How do we stop them?
I don't have an answer other than talking about it. Free speech has tremendous power. It's the proverbial pebble in the calm pond, Alex. If we keep throwing these pebbles into the pond and the rivulets go out to the edges, eventually people will wake up. Eventually they will act up. There is no other answer that I have, Alex.
I agree with you. If we roll over, we're in deep trouble. And the problem is the same insider financial interest that are crony monopolists who want tyranny and a organized command and control economy, they are funding both parties. And now you see the mainline Republican Party demonizing the more hardcore Tea Party that are our listeners who are actually just Americans. What do you think about the establishment Republicans claiming that Obama is a mandate for socialism and that Republicans should have open borders, abortion, tyranny, everything else? What do you say to that attempted capitulation? I say it's a hoax.
Well, it's either you want socialism on a fast track with Obama or socialism on a local train with the Republicans. They're no different. I call them the Democrats for 20 years in radio, or the Republicrats. What's the difference? We have a one-party system. It's an oligarchy. We all understand that. So the Republican Party is irrelevant. It's become a totally irrelevant party. There are some great people in it. Ted Cruz, I happen to be a big fan of Ted Cruz. Will he come on the show? Absolutely not. Did Rubio ever want to come on my show? Absolutely not. So they're all establishment types. I understand that. But I don't hold it against them.
Well, here's an example of style then. Okay, let me just throw this at you. I was mad. I was angry. I was in a bad mood. He was playing factoid games. I blew up at Piers Morgan. It was huge news. He's scared to have me back. They claimed I defeated gun owners, but the truth is it scared them, and I met with Morgan later. I saw him in Houston, and he said, oh, we don't want you back on. We don't want to make you too prominent when my audience and your audience dwarfs his by a factor of 10, 15, 20 times. But the issue is I actually kicked their butt because I actually said, get out of your coma, wake up. They say it's discrediting to get angry and aggressive. The truth is that's one of the only hopes we've got. Do you agree with that?
1,000%. Get in their face. They're a bunch of cowards, every last one of them. They're terrified of real men. If you can, spit in their face and tell them I said so. You have no idea what contempt I have for these people. The media is destroying America. And guys like Piers Morgan are the epitome of everything wrong with the media. The fact is, Alex, you did a great job. I admire you for it, and you should keep doing it. I myself don't go on any shows. I haven't for years. I learned my lesson a long time ago. They're snakes. They're the lowest form of vipers.
Well, they'll tell you it's live and then do a tape show while they're taping you, while the show's already on, but they'll tape it in a segment and then edit it. They're incredibly deceptive. And expanding on that, I didn't bring that up to inject myself into the story for listeners. I brought it up to say I believe and I've seen being aggressive with the truth is the only dog we've got in the fight.
Look, you did a great job. Someone's got to fight back. If more in Congress did what you did, we'd be in better shape. Why don't you run for office since I have declared it's time for war, time for war? Why don't you go to war and run for Congress?
I'll put it back to you. Why don't you run for Congress, Michael?
I thought about it for many years, and I'll give you one answer. I don't have the personality for it. I can't mince words. I don't have the patience to sit politely with my hands folded and say, I don't want to do any fundraising. Moreover, I really don't want to pander for votes.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I got involved in some campaign stuff and the begging for money and the questionnaires and just all the weirdness and the sycophants that worship the political class. Totally sick. Now, you've talked a lot about this. The 2 billion bullets, I want to specifically get into that. The domestic drones, the Homeland Security training. I mean, that has captured the public's attention, that the military-industrial complex is being converted over as a system to control us. I think that's something they're really scared of, us covering that.
Well, it's obvious what they're doing. They're drying up the supply of ammunition. If they couldn't control the guns, what they're doing is controlling the ammo supply. That's very obvious. I had an expert on the Michael Savage show last week who called in from WMAL in Washington. He said he's a manufacturer of weapons and bullets. And he said that's exactly what they're doing. Not only, you don't know this, Alex, but not only did they buy all of the available ammo, they've put in advance orders to give them priority for any ammo that's manufactured in the future. What they've done is completely dry up the supply. They're very clever. Don't ever underestimate your enemy, Alex.
I agree.
They are very clever. They're very angry. They're very frightened, and that makes for a very dangerous enemy. So they can't get you on the Second Amendment, so they cleverly said, okay, so we can't take the guns away from the cracker. Let's take the bullets away from the cracker. That's what they're doing here, Alex, and that's exactly what needs to be exposed to the general public.
You said this about 3 years ago, and after you said it, there was a Financial Times of London article, official Democratic Party fundraiser letter to the millionaires that said, don't worry, even he's going to get reelected, and there's going to be big events that help Obama take over. There's going to be crises, and we're going to blame it on the right-wing radio. Now, you said that before they even came out and said it, and I've been saying that. What about the false flag Reichstag event, Michael Savage? I see that as basically all the cornered rats have left, stage stuff or let stuff happen and blame it on us.
Well, there are people who are saying that these recent shootings from Sandy Hook onward were staged by the government in some way. I can't accept that as a reality. I don't know how they could brainwash that idiot Lanza to go kill innocent school children.
Sirhan.
Go right down the list. Right to Dorner. Are they all government brainwashed lunatics? I mean, I don't know if you believe that. I personally don't. But it's interesting to me as an epidemiologist that they all seem to come within a short period of time, isn't it? I mean, they've all occurred in a very short period of time, just as the gun grabbers have raised their rhetoric about taking away our Second Amendment rights. So, yeah, I mean, it's easy to say it's fits, but is it true? I don't know.
Well, a lot of it is they just, I mean, look at the Batman shooter in Aurora, where he gets DARPA funding and is protected, and the psychiatrist is top Air Force assigned to him. I mean, even the police in L.A. said Sirhan wasn't the shooter of RFK, and you know about amnesic drugs, Dr. Savage.
I really don't know that side of it. You're so much more deeply involved in this whole side of things than I am, Alex. I don't think we need to even go there to understand that the enemy of our freedoms exists. It's real. It has names. Regardless,
they're using the crisis to take our liberties, like Rahm Emanuel said.
Well, that's right. But why would they let a crisis go to waste?
All right, Michael, I'm going to twist your arm. There's only a 5-minute segment left. I want to end the show with you with any other points that you think are important to hear, riveting, important information. I can't believe it. Michael Savage on my syndicated radio broadcast, a powerful transmission, michaelsavage.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Final segment. Okay, going to Michael Savage here. I was saying to him during the break, what is the solution? Let's punch this up, drudgereport.com. Obama, you can't do things by yourself. And, of course, some will say he meant it like, oh, all we're doing is, saying I can't do things by myself, but he's actually implying give me more power and I can fix things, make me the dictator. That's what I think was coming out of that. And another backhanded socialist comment, you didn't build that. But going to Michael Savage, I was asking during the break, what is the solution? And he said it's in Ecclesiastes. Michael Savage, you have the floor.
Ecclesiastes said to us, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to love and a time to hate, Alex. And then Ecclesiastes writes, a time for war and a time for peace. I'll ask your listeners if the left has not declared war in America. If they are at war and they know who their enemy is, and believe me, they define their enemy every day, why is it that we don't know that we are at war? I said the same thing while the Islamists were targeting us. Every time these stooges in the CIA or the FBI or DOD would give a speech saying, Islam is not at war with America, I would want to break things in my house. I would say, they sure know who they're at war with. They've declared war on Christianity and Judaism. They declared war on women and freedom, and we don't know who's at war. They know who they're at war with, and unless we understand that they're at war with us, we're going to lose this war, Alex, as we are doing. We are losing the war for two reasons. One, because most Americans don't know that the radical left has won. They're in power, and they're in daily warfare against freedom. Number two, the media no longer exists. And number three, there is no effective Republican opposition. We have a single one-party system in this country. And so it's left to the people to say, the hell with you. You're at war with me. I'm going to get in your face like you did on the Piers Morgan show, Alex. Everyone has to get into everyone's face. Don't let them run you down with guilt or with shame. There are more of us than there are of them, and we can win if we just don't give in.
In the few minutes we've got left, is there any chance to get an impeachment movement going? You know, they said...
No, don't waste your time. It'll work for Obama, not against him. It'll be turned into a laughingstock by Rahm Emanuel and the media operatives.
Okay, well, then how do you stop him? I mean, what do you do?
He's going to make a bigger mistake than he's already made. I see, I'm a believer in God and fate. And I believe this man is so out of control with his ego. And I watch, one of the things I do for a living is I watch behavior. If you watch Obama walk, if you watch him speak...
Total arrogance.
You see the man bopping down Air Force One. You see him inviting the slime from Hollywood sewer pipe into the White House. You see him using his wife in a way that the First Lady has never been used before. These people are out of control, Alex. They're going to make an error. I believe that God's hand is behind it all. I just think God's taking his time about it. This man will make an error through arrogance that will bring the entire house of cards down. That is my belief.
I agree that power never works the way they want, like Hitler turning east into Russia. I just, as I get more power, I get more humble. I don't understand this thing of as you get more power, you get more crazy and more arrogant.
That's because you don't use drugs. They do. They're all medicated. There should be drug testing in Congress. There should be drug testing in Congress, Alex. My final word.
And again, you've got a degree in epidemiology, nutrition sciences, PhDs. I mean, you name it. You can recognize it. And I look at Pelosi. She looks like she's hopped up. I mean, if I pulled her over, if I was a cop, she looks like a total, like she's on something.
She's on power. But if you look at Congress and make them pee in a cup, I guarantee you 60% of them would be fired. Amazing.
The book, A Time for War. Get it out to everybody. They don't want you to read it. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.